Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. She didn't say it to my face. She never even looked me in the eye. I woke up early like I always do, 6:12 a.m. Not because I'm some productivity guru, but because my bladder's on a schedule more loyal than my wife. I shuffled to the bathroom, half asleep, and that's when I saw it. A sticky note, pressed to the mirror, in bright red lipstick. I only regret one thing, marrying you. That was it. No love, Kala. No smiley face. No warning. Kala. That's my wife's name. Yeah, like the flower. But don't let that fool you. There's nothing delicate about her anymore. I stared at that note longer than I want to admit. Then I peeled it off, folded it, and stuck it in the medicine cabinet between her lavender face cream and the bottle of migraine pills she never used. I didn't storm into the bedroom. I didn't scream. I didn't even cry. I made coffee. Because what else are you supposed to do when your wife tells you she regrets the entire foundation of your life, with a sticky note and a shade called seduction red? I watched her later that morning, packing her gym bag like nothing happened. She didn't say good morning, didn't ask about my plans, just hummed some pop song I couldn't name as she threw a water bottle and a change of clothes into her bag. I said nothing, but before she walked out the door, I whispered, "I'll fix that. Right now?" She paused, half-turned. "What?" I didn't answer. She shrugged, rolled her eyes, and left. I stood there alone in the kitchen. The silence was louder than her insult. That's when I opened the drawer, the one she never checks, and pulled out the envelope I'd been holding onto for 2 years. Divorce papers. Signed, not filed. I had printed them during the second year of therapy, when she told me I was emotionally exhausting and hard to look at sometimes. But I hadn't used them. I kept thinking it would get better. I dropped the envelope on the kitchen table, went to my laptop, opened my email, typed out 2 lines to my lawyer. She finally said it. "Let's move forward." That was at 8:16 a.m. At 9:03, my phone rang. Not her, not her sister, not even my mom, who usually has a sixth sense for disaster. No, it was a blocked number. And the voice on the other end? That's when I realized Kala wasn't the only one keeping secrets. I almost didn't answer the call. Something about blocked numbers always gives me anxiety, like it's either a telemarketer or bad news in disguise. But curiosity won, like it always does. I pressed accept and held my breath. "Is this Emery?" the voice asked. Male. Confident. Crisp, like someone used to giving orders. "Yes," I said slowly, already uneasy. "Who's this?" He sighed, and for a second I thought maybe he was nervous. "We haven't met," he said. "But I know your wife. Quite well, actually." I didn't say a word. My mind was racing. Old friend? Coworker? Ex? I think you deserve to know something. And I'm sorry, but I'm not calling to apologize for her. "Go on," I muttered, my voice shaking. I braced myself. There's been something going on for a while. I didn't know she was married at first. Not until about a month ago, when I saw a photo on her desk at the office. I confronted her. She told me you two were basically separated. Said it was just paperwork and routine keeping you connected. I sat down on the edge of the kitchen chair, stunned. My hands were cold, even though the sunlight was pouring through the window. "I ended it the moment I found out," he continued. "But I figured you should hear it from someone. I didn't want you to keep living in the dark." I couldn't even get angry. I just nodded, like he could see me, even though he couldn't. I said thank you, in the weakest voice I'd ever heard come out of my mouth. "Her name's not Cal at work," he added. "She goes by Cal." Like it's some nickname she gave herself to avoid questions. That part hit harder than I expected. A nickname. A new identity. A whole other life outside of ours. She didn't just cheat. She reinvented herself somewhere I couldn't follow. After he hung up, I sat at the table for an hour, staring at the coffee I never drank. That stupid sticky note flashed in my mind again and again. I only regret one thing. I should have regretted marrying her first. I couldn't stay in the house. Everything smelled like her. The vanilla shampoo, the perfume she sprayed too heavily, the jasmine candle on the hallway shelf. I packed a bag and left. No note. No confrontation. I just grabbed what I needed and walked out like a stranger in my own life. That afternoon, I drove to my brother's place 2 towns over. He wasn't home, but his girlfriend opened the door and said, "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Worse," I said. I wasn't planning on telling anyone, but something in me needed to let it out. So I told her everything. The lipstick note, the blocked call, the stranger's voice. She sat quietly, holding her cup of tea, not interrupting once. Then she said something that stuck with me more than anything. Some people write their regrets in lipstick. Others fix them in silence. That night, I didn't sleep much. I stared at the ceiling again, but this time, it wasn't the fan I was watching. It was the cracks. And I started to wonder just how long they'd been there. By the next morning, I had decided I wasn't going to be passive anymore. I wasn't going to just drift around like some sad cloud while she rewrote our marriage behind my back. So, I drove back to the house while I knew she'd be at work. I told myself it was just to grab a few more things, some clothes, my charger, maybe the old guitar in the closet. But part of me, the part one hate admitting exists, wanted to look for answers. Not closure. Answers. I needed proof that I hadn't imagined all the warmth in the beginning. That what we had was real before it broke. The house felt hollow, like a stage after the curtain falls. Her coat was gone, of course, and so were a few of her personal things, jewelry, shoes, the gym bag. I walked through the kitchen, into the bedroom, then to her home office, where she worked from home 2 days a week. The desk was clean. Too clean. Normally it was cluttered with bills, pens, sticky notes, half-used hand lotion, and mugs she never returned to the sink. But now it was staged, sanitized, like she had wiped away every trace of herself. Except one. There was a flash drive still plugged into the side of her laptop. No label, no charm, no cover. Just a silver stub sticking out like it didn't belong. I hesitated. My heart pounded as I sat down in her chair and opened her laptop. She hadn't even set a password. I double-clicked the drive and waited. A folder popped up titled, Taxes_2021. Nice try. I opened it, expecting spreadsheets or scanned receipts. But what I found was videos. Dozens of them. Each with cryptic file names like Client Review, Meeting 3, or Thursday Zoom. I opened the first one. It wasn't a meeting. It was her, Kala, on a hotel bed, laughing, wearing lingerie I had never seen. And she wasn't alone. I slammed the laptop shut and just sat there, shaking. I don't know how long I stayed frozen like that, but it felt like hours. My stomach was twisting. I wasn't even angry. I was embarrassed, humiliated, like I'd walked into a room where everyone knew the joke except me, and the punchline was my life. After I calmed down, I opened the laptop again. This time I clicked through quickly, skipping videos, just trying to find something with a date. Anything that told me how long this had been going on. And that's when I found it. A file named lunch_presentation. MP4, dated nearly a year ago. When she told me she was at a team-building seminar in Chicago. I remember that week. I had sent her flowers to the hotel and never got a thank you. She told me she'd left them in the lobby by accident. Now I knew why. She wasn't there to build teams. She was tearing down our life. I copied one of the videos onto my own USB. Not for revenge. Not for leverage. I think I just needed proof. Something real. Something that showed I wasn't crazy. As I stood up, ready to leave, I noticed her wedding ring in a ceramic dish near the windowsill. She hadn't worn it in months. Said it made her finger itch. I used to believe that. I don't anymore. I slipped the ring into my pocket, closed the laptop, and walked out of the house. No goodbye, no note. Just silence, the same way this whole mess began. Later that night, I got a text from an unknown number. You found it, didn't you? No name. No context. Just that. I didn't respond. But I didn't delete it either. Because something told me, this wasn't the end. I thought I was ready to face her. I told myself after watching those videos and reading that message, I was done feeling anything for her. Sadness, regret, longing. But that illusion shattered the moment I saw her walk through the front door of my parents' house like nothing had happened. She had the nerve to show up to my mom's birthday dinner. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Why was I even there? But I had promised my mom weeks ago. Kala had RSVP'd, maybe. And after everything that happened, I assumed she'd stay away. She didn't. She walked in wearing that beige coat she always said made her feel powerful. Hair tied back, heels clicking like a metronome of confidence. She greeted my mom with a fake smile, handed her a gift bag, then walked past me like I was part of the wallpaper. My brother threw me a look from across the table. He knew. I had told him everything 2 nights ago, after too many beers and one painfully long silence. He hadn't said much, just hugged me and mumbled, "She's trash, man." Now, watching her pass out plates and pour wine like the perfect daughter-in-law, I felt something boil up inside me. Rage? Not quite. It was more like disgust wrapped in confusion. My mom, bless her heart, was oblivious. She was just happy to have the family together. She had no idea she was sitting beside the woman who left lipstick regrets on my mirror and recorded hotel confessions in fake file folders. Kala sat directly across from me. We didn't speak. Not at first. But about halfway through the meal, while everyone was laughing about some story my dad was telling, she leaned forward and whispered, "You were in my files." I didn't flinch. I just looked her in the eye and said, "You left them for me. Don't pretend you didn't want me to see." Her lips curled into a faint smile. "You always were slow, Emery. But dramatic? That's new." She leaned back and took a sip of her wine. My fingers clenched around the fork. I didn't say another word. Not there. Not in front of my mom. But inside, something snapped. All the doubt I'd carried, the hope that maybe I had overreacted, vanished in that moment. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't even trying to lie anymore. Later, when dessert was being served, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it quickly and stood up. "Sorry, work emergency," she said to my mom, faking concern. Then she looked at me. "Nice seeing you again, Em." She left without saying goodbye to anyone else. My mom looked confused. "Is she okay?" I smiled and said, "Yeah. She's just really committed to her clients." My brother nearly choked on his pie. After dinner, I stayed back to help my mom clean up. While rinsing the dishes, she turned to me and said quietly, "You don't have to pretend. I see it in your eyes. Whatever she did, it's okay to let her go." That nearly broke me. I wanted to fall apart right there, in my childhood kitchen, holding a dripping plate and a broken heart. But I didn't, because I had already let her go. I just hadn't told her yet. When I got back to my temporary place, I checked my phone. Another message from the same number as before. "She knows you copied it. She's scared." I stared at the screen for a long time. And finally, I replied, "Good." The moment I pressed send on that reply, "Good," I felt something shift inside me. Like I'd crossed a threshold I couldn't uncross. It wasn't courage exactly. It wasn't revenge either. It was something murkier. A realization that if I didn't take control of this narrative, I'd be trapped in it forever. I didn't want to be the husband who almost stood up for himself. I didn't want to be the guy who people pitted at dinner parties. I wanted the truth. And maybe, just maybe, I wanted her to squirm. The next morning, I received an email from an unknown address. The subject line read, "For your peace of mind." No message. Just one attachment. A zipped folder labeled private. I almost deleted it. My rational brain screamed, "This is how people get hacked." But curiosity had me by the throat. I downloaded it onto an old Chromebook I hadn't touched in years. No logins. No synced files. No risks. Inside the folder were screenshots. Dozens of them. Text conversations between Kala and a man saved as JM, contractor. The timestamps stretched back months. Maybe longer. The tone between them wasn't just flirtatious. It was disgusting. Explicit jokes. Thinly veiled digs at me. "He still doesn't get it," she wrote in one. "He thinks a bubble bath will fix us. I think I'm allergic to his presence." In another, she joked about staging an argument just to get a weekend alone. "He cries so easily," she wrote, followed by a laughing emoji. I didn't know which part made my stomach turn more, the lies, the mockery, or the casual cruelty. She talked about me like I was some embarrassing footnote in her life, like I was a placeholder. And then I saw a line that shifted everything again. "He's going to find out soon." I left the mirror note. "That'll shake him. Let's see if he finally breaks." It was intentional. The lipstick, the wording, the timing, all of it. She had planned this. Like an experiment. Like she wanted to document how much of myself I'd unravel before I walked away. But she hadn't expected one thing. The stranger who called me. Someone in her orbit. Someone who wasn't okay with what she was doing. That night, I replied to the email with one sentence. "Why are you helping me?" I didn't get an answer. But a few hours later, another file came in. This time it was a voice recording. I pressed play, and there she was, Kala's voice, sharp, irritated, clipped. I don't care what he saw. Let him leave. That's the point. I want the house. I want clean papers. If he walks, I win. I'm done playing wife. She said it during a phone call. You could hear traffic in the background. She was outside, maybe walking to her car. I replayed the clip 3 times, making sure I heard every word. That's when I knew. This wasn't betrayal. This wasn't a mistake. This was a strategy. She was setting me up. And until now, I'd been playing my role perfectly. The quiet husband, the confused man, the harmless exit. But no more. I didn't want revenge. I wanted something cleaner, smarter, something that wouldn't make me look like the villain when this all blew up, and it would. Because if she wanted a performance, she was about to get the final act. The next step had to be subtle. No screaming matches, no smashed glasses, no petty retaliation. That would just feed the version of me she'd already built in her head. The weak, fragile husband who couldn't handle reality. No, if I was going to end this, I wanted her to see it unfold slowly, piece by piece, like a painting she couldn't unsee. I wanted her to watch it all fall apart, not because I tore it down, but because she built it on quicksand. So I sent her a text. Let's talk. Dinner? Tomorrow night. The Oak Room. Just us. She responded within 2 minutes. Sure. 7. I replied, perfect. The Oak Room was our old spot. We hadn't been there in over a year. It used to mean something. Back when we still dressed up for each other. Back when we laughed between courses and split dessert. It was symbolic, really, bringing her there. Like leading a ghost back to where it died. I made a reservation for 2. Requested the booth in the back, the one near the fireplace, with just enough privacy for what I needed to say. But before I even stepped foot in that restaurant, I made sure I wasn't walking in unarmed. I printed everything. The screenshots, the transcript of the voice memo, the video stills. I even clipped the note she left on the mirror, carefully folded and taped to the top page of the file. I put it all in a simple manila folder. No dramatics, no labels, just truth. The night of the dinner, I showed up early. I wore the same shirt I'd worn on our 2nd anniversary, the one she said made me look less like an accountant. I ordered a glass of wine I didn't drink and waited. She arrived 5 minutes late, like always. Hair curled, makeup sharp, wearing the same green dress she once wore when I told her she looked like someone worth chasing. She smiled like none of this had happened, like we were just a married couple trying to reconnect. Wow, she said, sliding into the booth. Didn't think you'd pick this place. I smiled. Felt appropriate. She scanned the room like she was checking for an audience. So, what's this about? You want to talk divorce? We can make it quick, Emery. No need to drag it out. I reached down, slid the folder across the table, and said, actually, I already did. She looked confused. She opened the folder. She didn't flip far. 3 pages in, she froze. Her smile slipped. Her jaw tensed. She didn't speak for a full 30 seconds. Then she looked up at me. You went through my stuff. No, I said calmly. You left it behind. I just followed the trail you wanted me to find. You practically gift-wrapped it. She exhaled sharply, like she was weighing whether to be angry or amused. And what's your plan here, Emery? You gonna show this to my boss? My family? Post it online? Turn me into some cautionary tale? No, I said. That's not my style. I'm not interested in hurting you. She blinked. That surprised her. I'm interested in being done, I added. And I wanted you to see what done actually looks like. She leaned back, crossed her arms. You think this makes you strong? No, I think it makes me free. We didn't order food. We didn't need to. She closed the folder, slid it back toward me, and said, fine, then be done. I stood up. Enjoy the rest of your performance, Kala. I'm exiting the stage. And I walked out. Later that night, she called me twice. I didn't answer. Then she sent one final text. You'll regret this. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed my reply. That's the difference between us. You regret marrying me. I regret wasting time proving I was worth it. 2 days after the dinner at the Oak Room, I received an email from her lawyer. Short, cold, exactly what I expected. Kala is prepared to move forward with the dissolution of marriage. She requests a fair and uncontested settlement, including retention of the marital home. That last line made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it confirmed exactly how little she knew about the life she was trying to take apart. She didn't know the house wasn't in both our names anymore. She didn't know I had quietly refinanced after she bailed on our mortgage meetings 3 times in a row last year. I took over the payments, transferred the title. Legally, it was mine. She'd been living in my house for almost 8 months without realizing it. And now she was demanding I let her keep it. Entitled doesn't even begin to cover it. I didn't respond right away. I wanted to speak to my lawyer first. The same one who drafted the original prenup. The one Kala insisted was just a formality, back when we were playing house and dreaming about European vacations we'd never take. My lawyer confirmed everything was airtight. She'd walk away with what she brought in, which, honestly, wasn't much. Still, I knew her. She wouldn't just walk away quietly. She'd make noise. She'd stir up sympathy. So I prepared myself for the next wave. What I didn't expect was what happened that weekend. It started with a knock at the door. Not aggressive, just soft, almost apologetic. I opened it and came face to face with someone I didn't recognize at first. A woman, mid-30s maybe, brown hair tied back in a bun, wearing a jacket that didn't quite match her shoes. "Are you Emery?" she asked, clutching her purse tightly. "Yes," I said. "Can I help you?" I used to work with Kala at the agency." I didn't speak, just held the door, unsure what was coming next. "She told people you were emotionally unstable, that you had anger issues. She said you were dangerous." Her eyes searched mine for a reaction. "She said I was dangerous?" She nodded. "But after what happened with another coworker, the one who filed a complaint against her, I started connecting dots. You weren't the only one she manipulated. She lied to everyone, got people fired. She's been doing this for years." I let her in. We sat in the living room, the one Callan never liked because it felt too plain. The woman, her name was Nina, told me stories I wish I could say shocked me. How Kala flirted with clients behind closed doors, how she made others take the fall for her missed deadlines, how she once pretended to cry during a meeting just to avoid accountability. It all fit. The performance, the calculated charm, the quiet cruelty. Nina handed me a thumb drive. "What's this?" I asked. She left her login credentials saved on a shared computer. I copied some files before I left. Emails, audio clips. She was planning something bigger than just a divorce, Emery. I didn't open it right away. I waited until she left, thanking her without really knowing what I was thanking her for. When I finally clicked through the files, it hit me. Kala had been plotting a smear campaign. She had drafted emails accusing me of harassment, claims that I had become erratic and emotionally manipulative. She planned to send them to her boss, her friends, even my family. She wanted to ruin me. Fully. Publicly. But she hadn't sent them yet. And now I had them. I saved every file. Printed every page. And for the first time since this mess began, I smiled. Not because I wanted to use them against her, but because I didn't need to. Her plans were crumbling before they ever reached daylight. The house was mine. The story was mine. And now, the truth? It was mine too. The day everything ended, the sky was clear. That detail stuck with me. I don't know why, but I expected it to rain. Storms always followed collapses in movies, didn't they? But instead, it was calm. The kind of stillness that feels earned. I met with my lawyer that morning. We finalized everything. Kala would get what was outlined in the prenup and nothing more. No house. No false narrative. No way to twist the story anymore. I signed the documents with steady hands, while my lawyer, who had watched the entire mess unfold with patient detachment, looked at me and said, "You played this right. Most people want revenge. You just wanted your life back." And he was right. That's all I ever wanted. To breathe again without waiting for the next lie. After leaving the office, I drove straight home, my home, and opened all the windows. For the first time in months, I wanted the air to move through every room. I wanted the ghost of her to finally leave. She showed up one last time. No warning, just her car in the driveway and the sound of knuckles tapping the doorframe. I didn't panic. I didn't even hesitate. I opened the door and looked her in the eye. There was no fear in me anymore. She knew it. "Can we talk?" she asked, more quiet than usual. "No," I said. "Not anymore." She opened her mouth, maybe to protest, maybe to beg, I don't know. But I handed her a small envelope instead. Inside was a photo, the sticky note, the mirror, her regret in her own handwriting. She looked at it, then looked at me. "I'm not angry," I said. "I just wanted to remind you what started all this, and why it had to end." She blinked quickly. No tears. Just the realization that the story was finished and she no longer had the pen. She didn't say goodbye, just turned and walked away. I stood in the doorway and watched her car disappear down the street. And then, I swear, I laughed. Not bitter, not cynical, just free. In the weeks that followed, things got better. I didn't expect it. But healing doesn't always come in the form of grand gestures. Sometimes it's just coffee that tastes good again, music that feels familiar again, Sleep that returns without a fight. I started journaling, taking walks, talking to people I'd lost touch with. I even reconnected with my old college friend, Marla, the one who once told me, "You deserve someone who doesn't make you question if you're enough." We've had a few long conversations since. Nothing romantic. Not yet. But something honest. And real. One night she said, "It's not about getting even. It's about getting clear." And that stuck with me. Like glue. So no, I didn't burn the bridge. I just walked past the ashes, barefoot, smiling. Because I knew I'd never go that way again. Thanks for staying with me through this journey. If you've ever faced a betrayal that nearly broke you but chose peace over revenge, share your story in the comments. Or better yet, tell us about a historical moment that taught you something about strength, survival, or letting go. You're watching Reddit Confessions, where the truth finally breathes and the past finally stays behind.